Hello, hello, hello. Anybody home today? How's everybody out there in YouTube land? Can anybody really see me here? Ha ha ha. Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Hello, last night's guy, Austin, Kim, Grizz, Sorrenti, Rhonda, Kim. Hey, everybody. Sup? Sup, kids? How's everybody down there in the lower 48 doing? Man, we're having a great day up here in Alaska today. That is for sure. It is hot. Damn hot. I mean, seriously hot. 88 degrees outside today. 88 degrees. This is Florida weather, folks. All the way up here in Alaska, I'm having Florida weather. It is unbelievably hot outside. I'm in a t-shirt. I do have my sweatpants on, but I'm about to put in my shorts. Because it's getting warm up here. And, you know, it was funny. You can see on my scale here, down here, it shows what it was earlier today. See that? 48 degrees this morning, and now it's 88 degrees outside. 40-degree temperature swing. So I think the good Lord's trying to tell me to start preparing for warm weather. He wants me to get more accustomed to that. So gonna have to start heading that direction. Gonna have to stay the upper 48. Yeah, now it's the lower 48. Austin says it's 58 degrees there. Wow. Hey, Grizz, how you doing, buddy? Hey, PC guy, Laredo, nice to see you guys here. 93 in the Disney area, Florida. Well, that's cool. Hey, but at least you guys down in Florida, when you have that high temperatures, you've got breeze blowing, you know? You've got that breeze blowing. Right now, it is pretty calm outside and hot. So, hotter than two rots fleeking in a wool sack. Okay. Say thank you for deleting that guy today. Oh, Kim, no problem. I was actually kind of surprised that old Bobby made me a moderator because he, you know, I've asked him to do that before and he hadn't, but I'm glad he did. He needs to have a moderator in there to deal with, you know, people that get on there and do stuff like that. So I was glad to jump in. And while I'm talking about that, Bobby kind of spilt the beans. I actually wasn't going to say anything just yet. I was going to keep things mum for a little bit, but yeah, I did make I did make Bob an offer on the rough seas. Unfortunately, my situation up here in Alaska, I have a lady trying to buy my property. We're trying to work out all kinds of deals for her. It looks like I'm going to have to carry a certain amount of the down payment financing for her in order for her to buy stuff, which leaves me really tight in order to be able to do this. In fact, I can't. I won't be able to sell this place and move unless I can get someone like Bob to agree to terms on the purchase of a boat, which Bob seems like he's going to be leaning that direction. We don't know the exact answer yet, but we're getting close. And if Bob's going to help me out and be able to work with me that way, then that'll be awesome. And I'll be out of here at the end of August, September, and out on the rough seas, starting to make the channel and the content that I'd like to make. And if Bob is able to put that together, then, you know, awesome. Bob's a great guy, so I'm hoping we can make that work for everybody. So, hey, Christine, welcome. Glad to see you here. So that's the big news, you know, Grandpa. I do apparently have the property here sold, but it's predicated upon me being able to work out a deal with Bob, or if not Bob, maybe somebody else might be in a situation to do financing on a boat. I hate doing financing. I don't have a debt up here except for my mortgage, and I wish I didn't have that. Had it been my choice, I wouldn't have. But it is what it is. So. Other than that, I'm debt-free. Hell, my credit's so bad, people look at my cash funny. And that's the way I like it in life. I don't like credit cards. I only have a debit card. So, well, we'll see. Hey, 9mm James, how you doing? Glad you jumped in and made it. We had a good time on the live stream today with Bob at Sailing Doodles. That was pretty interesting. Bob made me a moderator, for those of you that don't know. And I got I got to slam the hammer down on a guy that was just being ridiculous on there. So it was kind of fun. I enjoyed that more so than I should have actually today. But I'm glad I did that. And then yesterday I got involved with a live stream with Sailing Creo, Creo. It's a couple that's in Greece. They're in the Greek Isles right now. And she was rather surprised to hear that I'm from Alaska. We were talking about temperatures and how cold it is up here. And I was telling her in the wintertime here, we usually get 2 or 3 weeks of minus 30 weather, which we do. And she said, oh, well, you must have a warm hat. And I said, I do. I have a beaver and wolf fur hat. Well, she wanted to see it. So I took a picture and I sent it to her. And it made it on her live stream. She was showing that off. Apparently, she thought that was pretty funny. But I promised her I would have it on her. I don't know if she's watching, but this is my hat. It is wolf and wolverine on the outside. And then it's beaver, shorn beaver on the inside, with nylon lining up in the top. The ear flaps and stuff, this is shorn beaver. And it's very warm. Very, very warm. But the problem with this hat design is that you can't just put it on because it covers up your eyes. You can't see anything. So for those of you in the know, you put your ball cap on first. Then you pull your hat down and the brim of your hat keeps it up out of your eyes. So you can see. Now in really cold weather, I can't even do that. I can't even have the ball cap on because you want it to cover your eyes to protect you from the real cold. But that's what we do up here in Alaska to survive the cold weather. We dress very warmly. And we use natural furs because they tend to do better in the cold. They don't freeze up so bad and keeps you warm. Well, hey, Aaron B., glad you made it. This is, hey, love the hat. Good, I'm glad. Yeah, the hat, by the way, is being sold at the next auction. That's the last of my stuff. We've had 2 auctions. I got rid of 2/3 of my stuff. They're having a 3rd auction, and that'll get rid of the last of my stuff. But that'll have to be coordinated with the day I drive out of here because I obviously need stuff to live on. So, but yeah, making good headway. No, I'm not going to need that hat anymore, Kelly. In fact, I have promised myself I am never, ever going to live any place ever again where I would need such a ridiculous hat as that. Don't get me wrong. It looks goofy. Yeah, it's that, Davy Crockett kind of thing, but it's warm. The sucker is warm. In fact, it's almost a little too hot. If I'm outside doing chores, it's too warm, even at minus 30. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to not having that hat anymore and moving away from that. So that's kind of the news. Bob kind of stole my thunder today by disclosing the boat deal. I didn't want to say anything until I was on board. Till the deal was a done deal. But apparently Bob shared that with everybody today. So cat's out of the bag now. We'll see how that works out. It might work out, it may not. Time will tell. We'll see how that plays along. And the good news is at least we're making some progress along that direction. And I'm openly optimistic that we'll be able to do something. I think it would be good for me to have the rough seas from Bob for a couple reasons. The boat is not ideal for what I'm doing, which is okay for the time being. It's only for a short period of time. The lady buying my property here is buying the land so that she owns the land. It all has to do with banking underwriting requirements. If anybody out there is in real estate, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's hard for someone to buy 80 acres of land and build a house on it because it doesn't quite work with their ratio of land to home values. The land and the construction on the land has to have a certain parity. And in my property, the land is worth a lot more than whatever house they're going to build on it is. So it makes it difficult to get bank financing for an 80-acre parcel. Now, if it was 20 acres, it'd be easy. But 80 acres is difficult. So she's buying the property to have it in her name for a year till next summer. And then she'll be able to go to the bank and refinance it as land she already owns, not as a new purchase, and be able to wrap that with a home construction loan at that time. She's also selling her house, which she has on the market. So I imagine this time next year, or if not, at the absolute latest, this time the year after, she'll have to pay a balloon payment off and pay off everything that's still owed. And at that time, I'll be able to finally buy the boat that I would like to be on. But in the meantime, the rough seas will enable me to start creating content. It's been a good boat for Bob and Megan. It's been a lucky boat for them, and I'm hoping it's a lucky boat for me, and it'll enable me to start making some content and doing some stuff. There are some changes I want to make to the boat very quickly, but we'll see how that plays out. So, closest thing I have to winter gear is long sleeve tee and jeans. Auction that hat, you'll be able to pay cash for the boat. Yeah, that hat cost me about $300. I'm hoping to get $100 out of it at the auction. Get Megan to work for it. Probably not. Megan's going to hang out with Bobby. Auction it off to PETA. Yeah. Buying land could be a pain in the rear. It took me like 3 months to ever get a deal made, that paper signed. Yeah, it is difficult. It absolutely is difficult. So, hey, Desiree, DV3, Devshire, however you pronounce that. Welcome anyway. So yeah, so that's the deal. So I'll be able to buy Bob's boat with the structured payment arrangements that we're going to have to do, and start creating content. And hopefully you'll be able to start doing that soon. Bob said the boat's in Puerto Rico, so I got to go to Puerto Rico to get the boat. So I guess what I'm going to do is drive down to Florida, and then the dog and I and a minimal amount of gear will fly over to Puerto Rico. It's a downwind sail that time of year from Puerto Rico to Florida. I'll sail it into Florida, which take me about 10 days or so, and then get the rest of my gear, and then be able to turn around and go and do as I want to do. So we'll see how that pans out. We'll just see how that pans out. But okay, so that was sort of my news and my story. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to announce. That is what it is. So we're finally going to start being able to make some decent content, which is what I'm looking forward to doing. Okay, Keith Butler. Hey, Keith, welcome, buddy. Hi, as Grandpa. The rough sea should be a great boat for you. The boat has good sea legs under it. Yes, I hope so. Good thing it has a safety net. Yes, Kim, and thank you for that. Kim is the one that convinced them to put that on. You know, normally, Kim, I'm not a big fan of those because most boat designs don't have a tow rail like the Rough Seas does. If you look at the tow rail of the Rough Seas, now that's the rail that runs right along the edge of the surface of the deck right before it drops over the bow. Their tow rail has openings in it all along the way. So they were able to actually lash that safety net not only to the lifeline at the top, but also at the bottom. So often I see people put up that safety netting and they have it lashed nicely at the top, and then it goes from stand to stand, and there's a big, belly in it, a big gap where you can go underneath of it. And I've seen dogs and people fall and slide right underneath those nets before. So I had some concerns about it, but I'm glad to see that their tow rail is the design that it is, and they were able to secure it tightly. So yes, it'll be really nice, especially for Miss Lily, my dog, to be able to walk up and down the deck and not fall and slide underneath of that. So was wondering if you were going to drive to Puerto Rico. Last guy, I'm going to drive pretty close to Puerto Rico, actually, when you think about it. I mean, I'm driving down from Alaska. So driving from Alaska to Florida, that's pretty close to Puerto Rico. So airfare is going to cost me, I think, about $100 to fly from Miami, Fort Lauderdale over to Puerto Rico, plus the baggage and the dog. I figure it cost me maybe $1,000 by the time I'm done with everything. So hopefully I won't take too much stuff with me. That's always been my problem, is I pack way too much stuff with me. It's DVS, that's me, and I am in Ireland. Right, we've done this before. DVS in Ireland. Irie or Dave. Irie. We'll just call you Irie because I like Irie, man. Sorry, I just got here, but when do you plan on flying down and taking control of it? Vicky mostly worried about the boys. Oh, Vicky did that. I thought you were the one to send the net. Vicky sent the net. Cool. Keith, I'm going to be, according to plan, the way things look right now, we should close on my property here in Alaska around August 15th to September 1st, somewhere in there. After that, I need to make a trip down into Montana where I have a bunch of stuff in storage. I have to sort through that stuff, grab some of my sailing gear out of that. There's some items I have to drop off to my kids in Ohio and some items I have to drop off to my ex-wife in Florida. So I'll have to deal with that. But so I should be in Montana about a week. So I figure I should be heading over to Puerto Rico September 15th, somewhere around there, and taking possession of the boat then. I told Bob we would try to buy it, around September 1st or thereabouts. So I'm probably going to end up buying it sight unseen to some degree, which I'm not usually a big fan of, but I'm going to trust Bob, and what the hell. At the price range that that's selling for, it's not a big deal. So that's a long trip. Yes, 9mm, it is. Isn't there a hurricane down there now in Puerto Rico? There's a tropical storm, not a hurricane down there right now, as far as I saw. Hey, Reich, how you doing? Glad you stopped by to say hello. Oh, Doug and Stacy. Wow, haven't seen you guys in a long time. Glad you could make it. Oh, upgrades. Okay, so the upgrades I was doing. Who asked that? The chat went too fast. I didn't catch it. Laredo. Okay. Upgrades to the rough seas. Yeah. A couple things I'm going to do right off the bat, real quickly, is a hot water heater, so I can take a hot shower. Because, man, I'm going to want hot water to take showers with, and a water maker. Those two items I'm going to put on the boat almost immediately. So, really cool if you and Bob and Megan can meet up down there somewhere. Yes, Kelly, we will meet up in Florida, I am sure. I will be moving the boat from Puerto Rico up to Florida to load the rest of my stuff. I'm sure we will go from there. Trenti says, oh, wow, Doug and Stacy never thought they would top 10. Yeah, not after the drama we had before, but that's all past us now. We've moved on to a whole nother reality, so we're not going to worry about that. So your travel is going to bring you through Texas. No, peace. No, probably not. Probably because I have to drive from Alaska to Montana, Montana over to Ohio. So that'll keep me north of Texas, and then from Ohio right down to Florida. So probably not going to make it down into Texas. Sorry about that, PC guy. Probably not going to make it into Texas. Bobby will be there, however. He's going to go into Texas. Let's see. Water maker is a must. Yeah, I definitely want to have water maker on board the boat. Just to make it simpler, the boat, the C&C 35, isn't really a cruising boat. It doesn't have a large fuel tank, nor does it have a large water storage tank. So in order to offset that, by having a water maker on the boat, I can generate water on a need-be basis and not have to worry about, filling up a big tank and having lots of storage with me while I'm out cruising. Especially since I plan on spending the first summer or this winter in the Bahamas. I'm probably going to concentrate most of the time in the Bahamas. I'm going to be kind of broke, so I'm going to have to kind of stay in the Bahamas to save money. And from there, I can make really good content that I want to make, but I'll need a water maker so I can have water to drink and for the dog and me to drink, showers and what have you. So as a temporary solution, before you get a hot water heater, you could use a 5-gallon solar shower. Yeah, I could, but, a water heater is not that expensive. I can buy a really good water heater even as an expensive place like West Marine for under $500. So why not stick a water heater in? They're not. It's not going to be a huge expense in order to do that. So I understand I had a battleship. I wanted you to come tour. Ooh, a battleship would be cool to come tour. Well, I will try. I don't think I'm going to have the time to do that right now. Hey, you never know. I'm going to be sailing around the Caribbean. Maybe I'll sail up through Mexico or through Cuba, Jamaica and Cuba and up around that way, and come up into Texas from the south. Never know. So Might think about training dog to poop on a carpet before you go. Saw one that had a dog that would only go on land. Yeah, actually, I've already been training Lily, last nice guy. I've owned sailboats before, and she's been on a sailboat when she was a pup. So I'm sure she'll adapt to that. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. She'll be able to be fine on the boat. Lily had that down sort of. Yeah, she had that down sort of on the other boat. So not perfectly, but it's a learning curve for both of us. Question for you: until the boat is paid for, do you, under your guys' agreement, are you going to have to keep the name of the boat the Rough Seas, or do you plan on changing the name? Or, Keith, I don't know what the status of that is. I think Bob is going to want me to change the name only because, sorry guys, I have a moth in here. I had a moth in here. I think Bob's going to want to keep me to change the name because I believe they're going to call the new catamaran the Rough Seas. That son of a bitch went right past me, didn't he? He went behind me? I'll get him yet. Anyhow, I think he wants me to keep the name Rough Seas off of my boat because he's going to be using it on the new boat. So we'll have to see. USS Alabama, awesome tour. Cool. Battleship Texas fought in both world wars. Oh, cool. Very neat. Anchor off Ramrod Key and come visit. We'll be there January to March. Well, all right. We will definitely do that. You stay in Ramrod Key. Okay. We can do, I'm sure we'll be back and forth. So, hey, Yeti, let's see. If it's not going to be your final boat, you might consider a Raymond portable water maker, a Australian channel. Yeah, I've seen the one that Catalpa uses. The Rainman is an interesting option, but it costs just as much as a regular water maker. But it's still components, and I really would like to have something permanently installed. And, it's one of those things, you make that investment into a boat, you turn that over, when you go to sell it, you hopefully recover some of that. So we'll just see how that goes. But, yeah, I've looked at the Rainman that Catalpa, he just put out a video today, I think, where he showed the Catalpa, the Rainman. And, yeah, I'm researching and thinking about that. I am. So I thought it was bad luck to change a boat's name. Not if you do it right. It's not a bad luck to change a boat's name if you do it right. 9mm says he's been on that battleship in Mobile. Cool. Now they have a sub there on the dry dock next to the battleship. Very cool. But the Raymond can be transferred to your new ship. Yeah, it would be able to be transferred to new ship, Keith, but then I'm always going to be in a situation where I'm dealing with a portable water maker and not something that has a permanent installation. So, if it's on deck, you're always having to monitor it and set it up, tear it down, set it back up, tear it down, set it back up. It's just, inconvenient in that regard. On my next boat that I'll be able to buy after this lady finally gets done with her refinancing and what have you, I plan on being on that boat for a while. Of course, I say that, and it seems like almost all of these cruising channels nowadays are on one boat, and, next thing you know, they're on another boat. So, never can tell. I'm never going to say never, but I do like the convenience of just having it installed, and there it is. So, we shall see. It was hot in there. Yeah, it would be hot inside of a submarine in Alabama. Water all around you. Why would you need a shower? Grizz, you need to take a shower because you need to wash off the salt. Swimming in the ocean doesn't help with the bacteria and stuff on your body. You still need to use some soap and a hot shower to get yourself bacterial free. Otherwise, you'll start getting rashes and stuff. So, just a natural part of being a human being. So, howdy, basement done, shop back loaded and truck been listening. Hey, Marie, how you doing? Yeah, somehow shop vacuuming a basement just doesn't sound like a fun way to spend an afternoon, but it is what it is. So, last nice guy says lick. You have a salt like that too. Oh, lick. I see. Salt. Yes. Okay. Shoeshire, then one don't need soap to scrub off. Shoeshire. Okay. Well, I can tell you from having been down in the Caribbean a lot that just swimming every day in the ocean doesn't necessarily, even swimming every day in the ocean and doing a freshwater rinse doesn't necessarily get the bacteria off your body. You still need to do a soap and water kind of thing, especially down there in that heat where you're sweating all the time. So it's just been my personal experience with my hygiene, something I need to do, something everybody should do. So, I mean, everybody has to rinse off the salt water with some fresh coming out of the water because the salt will leave you with problems. But I have found that, every 2 or 3 days down there, got to use some soap and soap up a little bit. So, any ideas on a name? Yes, Inanna. Inanna is a Mesopotamian god, a goddess actually. She's the only goddess that was able to visit the underworld and come back, kind of like a scuba diver, how we go under the water and return to the surface. So that's sort of the analogy. And so it'll be SERV, which is Sailing Exploration and Research Vessel, SERV Inanna, Inanna. If you check out my Patreon page, there's a little bit of information on there about Inanna and the origins of the name. So, hot in the southern Alabama, heck, it's hot here, and I'm not even in one. Hey, Aaron B., it's hot up here in Alaska today, bud. I was just showing everybody earlier. It's now 87. It cooled off a little bit. It was 88 a little bit ago. Hot up here in Alaska. I mean, seriously, it was 49 degrees when I got up this morning. But it hit a high 88 today. It's ridiculous. I went and looked at a 50-foot Catalina yesterday and really wanted to jump on it for the price, but it just needs too much work and too many things to be upgraded. Yeah, and that's a big thing that you're going to find. And, I'm kind of relying on Bob to sell me the boat. I mean, he knows I'm going to be using it for a YouTube channel, and so he's going to disclose to me any known material defects. I don't want to get down there. If I was him, I wouldn't sell it to somebody else who's going to do a YouTube channel for fear that they're going to get down there and slam him on, the engine's broke or this don't work or that don't work. I've been following his channel and listening to all his Maintenance Mondays and all the work he's done. In fact, I've got a list, a detailed list of all the work he's done to the boat. I do think he takes the cheap way out sometimes in fixing stuff, but I'm pretty confident I'm going to buy a pretty good boat. So, plus I think he had a survey done just before he bought it, and that's only now 10 months or maybe a year old. So I'll be interested to see what that survey looks like. My boat would be in debt. Yeah, I hear that. Definitely. What is your plan to get in and off the rough seas? Well, Kim, there's a boarding ladder on the back of the boat, so using a dinghy and going in and out of the boarding ladder. As far as being in the water, getting in and out of the boat, I'm going to build a boarding platform, a swim platform that mounts to the back of the boat. There's another channel recently where a guy made a modification to the back of his boat, and he and I have been talking and looking at prices. I'm going to have a stainless steel welded fold-down swim platform made for the back of the rough seas with a boarding ladder that'll then drop down into the water, making it easy for me. In essence, I'm going to create a sugar scoop that literally bolts onto the back of the rough seas and folds out. So I'll be able to get it in and out of it that way. It's going to cost about $1,000, $1,500 or so to have that made, but that is one of the modifications I'm going to have to do pretty quickly. So, okay, let's see. Gotta start a fire soon to smoke this chicken. Okay. Have you had any thoughts on a stabilizer? Yeah, not in this price range. Stabilizers, are for fancy boats and cost tons of money. So probably won't be putting a stabilizer on it, but that's okay. I'm accustomed to small monohull, so that motion doesn't really bother me. What would a realistic budget be for 1 or 2 people on boat, no alcohol, and fishing as much as possible? Aaron, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Actually, Gone with the Winds, another cruising channel, Gone with the Winds, just did a video on their cost. They were in the Bahamas for 6 months aboard their catamaran. They spent under $1,000. Actually, it was closer to $900 a month, not including boat repairs, but all of their living expenses, fuel, food, all of that stuff, including the cost of the cruising permit to be there. They were in the Bahamas for 6 months and spent less than $1,000 a month. $5,500, if I remember correctly, is what they spent. A little under $5,500 for 6 months in the Bahamas aboard their catamaran. I think I can do better than that because I'm a much better fisherman than they are. Plus, I spear gun, scuba dive, so I can go down and collect stuff easier than they can. But we will see. We will see. And I'm going to do an accounting so you guys will be able to track it and see what's going on. So Aaron, to answer your question, I think that's very possible. And I think it's possible to do less than that. I really do. I ain't leaving. I have my laptop out here by the fire pit. Nice guy. We're here down to 5. Okay. Boarding platform is a great idea, and I've seen that video this morning where you made a platform. He did a great job. Yeah, that guy that did that platform, I don't remember the name of the channel, but he did a great job of, I watch, by the way, guys, like 100 different cruising channels right now. Very difficult for me to remember all the names of all of them, but he did do a great job on getting that built. There were some issues with it that he and I were talking about, but yeah, it was a pretty good design. Mine will be a bit heavier duty because I'm a heavy duty kind of guy. Last Nice Guy says $238. What's $238, Last Nice Guy? What is that in reference to? I don't know what that's in reference to. Okay. If you choose to, can also permanently install Raymond if you go to the 12-volt electric version. It just needs 2 kilovolt power supply from a generator. Well, Erie, I'll check that out. I'll have to look that up and see. Buck Anier says $5,500 for 6 months. Yes, that's how much Gone with the Wind spent. They spent $5,500 for 6 months in the Bahamas over the wintertime. Are you going to be able to have a firearm for defense? PC guy, no, I'm not taking any guns with me while I'm out cruising. I have actually eliminated, I only own 1 shotgun right now. I have sold or given away all the rest of my guns. All the guns that were important to me have gone to my son, and the rest of them I've now sold at the auction. So I've only got 1 shotgun, and it's going to go at the last auction. I'm not going to be in Alaska without at least 1 shotgun. Too many grizzly bears and black bears up here. We've had some recent maulings and killings from bears recently, as they're coming out of the woods now. So springtime, you got to be careful. So I do have a shotgun with me, but I am not taking it out of state. I'm going to sell it here before I go. I'm getting to ramp the channel up again. Slight change, but music will be part of it. Yeah, Rhonda, Cheshire Canary, by the way, guys, does a lot of singing. She's got an interesting channel she's trying to get going. So check it out. Definitely check it out. Hard to live anywhere for less. Yeah, 9mm James, you're absolutely right. Being out on a boat is actually one of the cost-effective, least expensive ways to live anywhere. Anywhere. I can't live up here in Alaska for $5,500 for 6 months. And by the way, that included their internet. That included their internet and telephone. So, I mean, I can't live up here in Alaska that cheaply. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I don't believe there'll be many Russians, but plenty of Jack and Coke. Yeah, and I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm not a big drinker anymore. I used to be, but not anymore. Reich says, Grandpa, I'll dive with you if you're in the neighborhood January in Louis Key. Hey, Reich, you can count on that, man. Absolutely. We'll do some diving. Yeah, maybe you come out to visit me in the Bahamas, and we'll do some diving out there. Absolutely. One of the things I do plan on having on the boat is a dive compressor. So we'll be able to fill the bottles. Absolutely. On the Captain of Morgan's, I love that stuff. Nah, not me. I'm just getting the boat to Florida. Oh, no, Johnny Hag, welcome. I'm glad to see you. I've not seen your name on here before. No, I will sail out to Florida myself. I'll fly over to Puerto Rico with my dog and minimal amount of gear, and we'll do a quick 10-day sail back over to Florida where I can then load up the rest of my stuff. So Keith Butler has over 600 guns. Keith, I used to be a federal firearms dealer. I have owned thousands of guns in my life. In fact, I have a problem ever going and buying a new gun because they run the 4473 form on me, and they see all the guns that I've owned in my life, and so I always get delayed until they check it out and they see that I have an FFL. So, but that's a whole nother life. Time to move on. What are the laws regarding weapons on board? Aaron, it all depends on what state you're in or what country you're in, and that's where the conflicts arise. Foreign countries don't have the tolerance to firearms on board like we do here in America. So, yes, Keith, alcohol is part of the budget. No, Keith, actually, alcohol is not part of the budget. The budget that was given by Gone with the Winds, yeah, I believe alcohol was included in their budget, actually. But they're not real heavy drinkers. You know, some wine and some beer occasionally, not a lot. So, okay, I'm feeling cheap. I live on $12,500 a year and have no wants. Yeah, well, Grizz, you're living in a unique situation. So, I will never give that out. Okay. It's hard. Oh, because you don't want everybody to know where your guns are. I see. Okay. It's hard for me to go anywhere without my gun. Yeah, I used to be that way, but I'm not that way anymore. When are you selling your truck? I'll be selling my truck in Florida once I get the sailboat moved up to Florida. Because I'm going to need my truck. I'm going to have a truck and my trailer full of stuff. So when I move the boat up to Florida, I'll unload the rest of my stuff out of the trailer and out of the truck and sell both of those, and then I am heading out. So no guns, get a machete. Guys, just so I'm clear and you understand, I am not going to have any firearms with me, but I'm certainly not going to be unarmed. I'm going to have spear guns. Doesn't sound like much, but believe me, they're highly effective. I'm going to have my bow with me. I am pretty good with my bow. I've shot crossbows and compound bows and longbows my whole life, and I am pretty darn good with my bow. Now, some guy with an HK40, if somebody comes with an SKS or HK47 or M16, something, obviously the bow is not going to be competitive with anything like that. But it is stealthy, and I can be a sneaky SOB. So, but no, I don't plan on taking any guns with me, but I will have machetes, and I will have my bow, and I will have my spear guns, and I will have some weapons. So, other than that, I'm just a real big guy, and most people don't want to mess with me, I mean, right now I'm overweight, and I'm losing weight quickly and trying to get in a better shape, but still, I'm 6'3.5", guys. When you see a guy who's 6'3" and weighs 280, or in my case, 400 pounds, even 380, 350, whatever, you're not going to mess with me. I'm just too big to screw with. So, believe me, if you want to fight with old grandpa, I'll just plant you in the ground. I'm a big old guy and I can take a hit. So, I'm not too worried about it, Gonna do some bow fishing. Absolutely gonna do some bow fishing. Sure, absolutely. If you need a gun, don't go to that area. 9mm James, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of places you just don't need to be in. Hey, I'm not going to go in the inner city in Detroit. I'm not going to go in that neighborhood. I lived in Montana for a decade, now up here in Alaska for a while, and I've lived in communities where I've not needed a gun really for protection. Hell, I don't even know where the key to my cabin is up here in Alaska. I've never locked the door. And I've flown out of Alaska and gone out of country for a week and 2 weeks and a month at a time. I don't know where the key to the cabin is. So, big old teddy bear. That's right. I am a big old teddy bear. How exciting things are finally happening. Yes, Marie, things finally are. And you guys don't have a clue to the degree in which I'm talking about. When I first got the bug to go sailing was when I had a girlfriend in high school in Port Washington, New York in 1975. She taught me to sail on a little sunfish there in Manhasset Bay. I kind of liked that. Later on, having traveled around the world as much as I have, my dad was a vice president for Pan Am, I kind of got the bug for traveling. in around 20 years ago or so, I started talking to different people who are cruisers who sail around the world. I remember the first people putting out any kind of video content about the cruising sailing life was Paul and Cheryl Shard on a show called Distant Shores. You could buy their DVDs. That's long before YouTube, long before any of the people that are currently showing up that do cruising. And I've been dreaming about and wanting to do this ever since. It's been decades in coming for me. Finally have my life in a situation where it's time for me to do what I want to do for me, and so I'm going. Man, it's been a long road. It has been a long, hard, happy, sad, everything life road. So really looking forward to this, unlike anything you've ever seen. I live in Chicago, not worried about going anywhere in the world. Hey, Buccaneer, I lived out right outside New York City. I was the same way. So hardest things for me to sell. I just have so many old guns and cars. Hopefully they'll get great homes, care for them like I have. Yeah, Keith, you know, there's a certain clarity you get by eliminating all your stuff. Busting at the seams with excitement, that doesn't even barely scratch the surface for how I feel right now. Believe me, if I was demonstrating to you how I actually feel, I'd look like a raving lunatic. Keith, I did a video this week talking about making changes in your life. And one of the concepts that came in mind to me with that was the old story about the Greeks. When the Greeks were going to go and attack and try to settle a new island, they would make boats on their island that they were living. They would sail over to the new island, and the first thing they did when they sailed to the new island is they would burn their boats. There's no going back. One direction in life, and that's forward. So they burned their boats, and frankly, classically, burning their bridges behind them, forcing them to have to succeed with what they were working to go forward to. So selling your cars and selling your guns, that's the way I look at it. I'm getting rid of all those old things so that I can focus on one direction, and that's going forward. So we'll see how that pans out. But show us your happy dance. Kelly, you will see my happy dance when I'm on board my next boat. I guarantee you that. You will see my happy dance when I'm on board my next boat. Think you'll use some crew to help deliver boat to Florida? Johnny Hag, absolutely. I'm going to invite some folks to join me for that trip. Anybody wants to? You know, if you can fly yourself, get yourself to Florida, I'll cover all the expenses to get you back. Or if you can fly yourself to Puerto Rico, I'll cover all the expenses to get you back to Florida. So yeah, I'm looking for just one other person. Maybe two would be okay, but ideally just one other person or two. It'll be fine. One or two people, just so that, you know, you can get some sleep and somebody else could be up on deck. It would be good that they have some sailing experience, although that's not really critical. I can certainly teach somebody what they need to know very quickly so they can take their turn at the wheel. If they see anything wrong, they can just wake me up. So we'll have adequate electronics and what have you on board so we can do that. But 80 days. Yes, absolutely 80 days. Actually, probably a little under 80 days, I'm hoping, but we'll see. We can't unsee that, Kelly. That's right. You will not be able to unsee that. So I'll keep my clothes on. I can promise you that. My happy dance will stay with clothes on, but it's going to be something funny. So, and you know, the thing of it is, guys, my YouTube channel content will be substantially different than all the rest of the YouTube channels out there. I know it's easy for me to say, but it really will be. My format will be different than what the other channels are. Very, very informal. You know, I treat you guys like my family or my friends, and I don't edit myself very well, not as well as I probably should have. I'm a little rude, crude, lewd, sociably unacceptable. And that's okay, because that's life. And I'm actually making these videos for my grandchildren. And, you know, they have to understand that Grandpa uses some vulgarity from time to time and tells a good, funny, you know, dirty joke, and that's okay. You know, that's life and that's normal. So I recently did a video where I sang a song called Friggin' in the Riggin'. And I had some lady get all indignant on there and why would you put something like this out? You don't want your kids to see something like this, your grandchildren, how you should be ashamed of yourself. And I thought to myself, nah, I'm not ashamed at all. It's a funny song, you know? It's an old historical song, but it's a funny song. You know why I know it? Because it was funny enough that people are still singing it, because it's still funny. So so you're going to see me do things a little differently. I'm going to be a little less formal, a little more direct. I'm not going to be just, you know, sailing and drinking. I'm going to be scuba diving, fishing, trying to show you how I'm fishing, what to do, how to set it up, going scuba diving, telling a story about the scuba diving. You know, it's one thing just to go for a dive, but when I'm making videos, I need to tell a story. I want you guys to follow along. So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a journey that we're going to go on. There's big obstacles that we're going to have to get over, and we're going to achieve those obstacles, and we're going to come back and tell you the story. I don't see a lot of these videos doing that. I see a lot of people putting out like underwater footage. They're out sailing on their boat. Excuse me. They're out sailing on their boat, and they have a GoPro, which is a waterproof camera, and they jump overboard and they run around filming fish after fish after fish after fish. And so what? There's no story. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You know, there's no point in jumping in and filming fish just to show that you can film fish. Why are you filming fish? What's the story behind it? And that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to put together. Okay. Think hard about stabilizers when you're dancing all over your boat. $238 for a stabilizer. I will have to look into that then, last nice guy. Now, are you talking about the stabilizers that you hang over the side that are ballast stabilizers? Those I know are fairly inexpensive. I thought you were referring to one of the high-tech ones they have now. Don't edit yourself. We watch it because we enjoy seeing the real you and not what. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I try really not to edit myself too much. A little bit, because sometimes I get a little, I'm a bad grandpa. You know, I say things that are a little off color from time to time. So I might a little bit. Please. I have to for YouTube anyway. You can't use any of the heavy 7 on YouTube, you know, the ones from George Carlin. Can't use any of those on YouTube. So I've got to make sure I at least edit that out of my stuff. But other than that, yeah. I learned my first dirty joke from my grandfather. So it's good they will get. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The doctor I went to today sails a Cabo Rico 42. Nice. Nice. Cabo Rico's a nice boat. Obviously, he's a successful doctor. Life's too short. People need to lighten up. I'm with you, Gramps. I want to see fish caught filleted and how you're going to cook it. Actually, Johnny Hag, one of the things I plan on doing is a hook to fork series where literally I'm going to, either catch it on the hook or spear it or grab it off the bottom or what have you, bring it on the deck, clean it, and cook it in the galley. And, here's some recipes on how I do stuff. I think that's I think that's something that's needed. I don't see that anywhere, even on the cooking networks and stuff. There's a few guys that do some fish stuff, but very little. So I think that would be an important thing to show and do. So it's not by shape, not weight. Rock and roll is one I saw. Huh, okay. I'll have to check that out. Just take it with a grain of salt. Yes, absolutely, 9mm. Sounds like fun seeing the diving. I've never been diving. Yeah, Southern Arc. I've dove actually quite a bit. When I was a kid, I learned to scuba dive in Jamaica, actually, in the West Indies. We would go to Jamaica every year in March for my dad's birthday. He had a friend of his had a house there on the ocean. So we would go stay in this house for a week or 10 days, and I'd go scuba diving there. So I learned to dive there. And then in high school, my senior year of high school, I went to a high school in Bahrain in the Persian Gulf, and it was a U.S. Navy DoD school where I got taught by a U.S. Navy SEAL who helped out with the scuba program there at the school and taught us to scuba dive. So I got some pretty wild training through that, and so now I'm really comfortable scuba diving. So yeah, I'll be doing a lot of diving, absolutely. I'm a Georgia boy, so believe me, I'm salty most of the time, so I know where you're coming from. Well, cool, Keith, I'm glad. Kelly says, is there areas you will sail where your spear gun or hand spear are not allowed? Um, yes and no. I mean, there are places where I will not be, there are some places you can't do either. Some of the preserves, some of the hope spots that are set up, and that's fine. There needs to be some places like that. There will be some places where it's illegal to use a spear gun with scuba gear, but it's okay with snorkel gear. There will be some places I can use a Hawaiian sling, which is a hand spear sort of setup. I can do that not with scuba, but with snorkel gear. And there's other places where I can use a spear gun and scuba gear. Every place has different regulations, so the burden is upon me to make sure I know what those regulations are in all those places. For the most part, in the Bahamas, the first year we're going to be in the Bahamas, so I'll be using a Hawaiian sling, not a spear gun per se, but a Hawaiian sling. I think it's a good idea for a diver to carry with them a good 5-foot sling anyway, if for no other reason that just in case a shark happens to get friendly, you can poke at one 4 or 5 feet away from you before he gets too close. If they get too close, it's time to go for your knife. That's it. That's what you do when you know, if you have a shark that gets that interested in you, best thing you can do is stab him. So Noonsight will tell you, yes, Buccaneer. Noonsight is a great resource. Any of you guys interested in cruising and sailing, look up Noonsight. All kinds of great data. In fact, there's almost too much good data on there. It's getting hard to navigate Noonsight because there's just so much stuff on there. You could spend a year living on reading on that. So a lot of cool stuff. It would be amazing to see a cruiser actually catch fish. Yeah, last nice guy. I hear you, man. I hear you. You know, you just can't sail across the ocean dragging a single solitary lure behind you and expect you're going to catch much fish. Just not going to happen. Fish swim in schools. So if you're a tuna out there swimming along in the ocean and you see one single bait fish go by, not worth your energy to go chase it. You see 40 of them go by, yeah, now you're going to go and spend the extra energy to go chase them because you can grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them and have a meal. That's the problem that most cruisers don't understand. You can't just go out there and go sailing with a single lure behind you. You got to put out a bunch of them. Hey, Paulie D, welcome, buddy. Thank you so much for that, man. You are awesome. You are absolutely awesome, dude. I really appreciate that. Really do, man. Here's a little more loot towards that bottle for the boat's renaming. There you go. There you go. Actually, I think you already paid for that on the last donation that you made, but I really appreciate that, man. I'm going to be on a really tight budget the way this is working out for the first year or two. I mean a really tight budget. Like you guys were asking before, how cheaply can you go out cruising? I'm going to have to cruise for under $1,000 a month. I have no choice. Going to have to. So I'm going to be on a pretty tight budget. And so when I say, having to go out fish and put out a spread, this is where I see a lot of cruisers making mistakes. If you're going to invest money into something, food is our most expensive budget item. Even the selling Cruising with the Winds, who just put their last video up on their expenses, they talked about groceries was like the biggest item on their expenditure list. Well, spend the money for the fishing gear so you can offset that budget and catch more of your own fish. Better off to do that. And instead of spending $1,800 and buying groceries there in 6 months, spend $400 for some decent fishing gear and then catch the fish that you need to eat. And you can reduce that budget quite a bit. So that's what I've been doing for the last decade. I've been saving up. I mean, literally hanging above my head right now, I've got a dozen fishing rods. I've got easily 250 pounds of tackle in tackle boxes here on the floor in front of me, underneath the table here, that I'm going to have to get moved to Florida. And that doesn't include the crab traps and shrimp traps and that other gear. So I'm pretty well prepared for being able to provide for myself. So that and having the spear guns and Hawaiian slings and stuff. All of that combined makes me pretty able to take care of myself. So Paulie D, thank you, man. I will definitely put that into good use. That will go into the beer fund, absolutely. Well, not the beer fund, the champagne fund to buy the bottle to rechristen the boat, because we're going to have to change its name from the Rough Seas to Inanna, SREV Inanna. So that's going to be cool. Thank you. Refresh. He sounds fine here. Do I not sound okay? Last night's guy, you're breaking up. Huh? Really? I would think that my bit rate is cranked down low enough that nobody should be having problems, but we'll see. Now, those fishing rods and tackle, are they saltwater fishing or freshwater? 70-30, maybe 80-20, 80-20. 80-20 saltwater over fresh. 80% saltwater, 20% freshwater. And the reason why I say that is because I have my fly fishing gear, my freshwater fly fishing gear, and some other stuff, some spinning gear for doing some freshwater fishing. Other than that, most everything is saltwater, including my saltwater fly rods. I do a lot of fly fishing, so you're going to see quite a bit of that on board the boat. Again, something you don't see any other cruiser doing, but we'll be doing some fly fishing. Historically, fly fishing in saltwater is not productive for eating foods. People that go fly fishing, they walk out on the flats. You're catching tarpon, you're catching permit, you're catching fish that aren't really good eating fish. But I will also be using my fly fishing gear to catch mahi-mahi and tuna when those opportunities pop up. So Bob and Megan have found dog food to be very expensive in travels. Will Lily learn to eat fish? Lily loves to eat fish, absolutely loves to eat fish. In fact, when I've bought bait fish up here in Alaska to go fishing, she would dig into my bait cooler and steal all my bait and eat it. The little 6-8 inch chubs and sardines and stuff we were using. So she loves fish and will be more than happy to have fish for dinner. She also likes eating people food, but with that said, yeah, we're still going to keep her on some kibble. I will always have some good quality dry dog food on board for free choice. The way I do it here at home, she's allowed to have all the food she wants. So you have to work to keep that Labrador out of the bait bucket. Go. Yes, I do. I have to be. I can't leave the lid open on the bait bucket because she'll get in and eat all the bait. So how much for the Rough Seas? Steve, I won't disclose the terms of the purchase, but Bobby's selling the Rough Seas right now. He has it on the market for $35,000. And it is a CNC 35. I think it's an 84, 83 model CNC 35. Make your own flies. Yes, Buccaneer, I do tie flies. And I fly ties too. Yeah, you guys should know that the last decade I lived down in Montana. I had a house overlooking the Yellowstone River. Did a lot of trout fishing. So yeah, trout. In fact, I've got fly rods, everything from 12 weight, 8 weight. I've got, say, a 12 and 8, a bunch of 6s, and even some 3 weight rods. So I've got fly fishing rods covering the full spectrum. And, you know, there's nothing more fun than taking the light little 3 weight out and going out and catching bass and bluegill with it, or if you're out in the saltwater catching, you know, some of the small fish that, you know, work the surface all the time. So making you hungry. Sorry about that. Bonefish. Yeah, last night's guy. Yeah, a lot of people fly fish, catch bones, and just not good eating. You know, so and it shows the price there. Yes, they yeah, if you go to sailingdoodles.com, you can look the boat up there and see all the details of it. Check out their website anyway. Great folks. Go to sailingdoodles.com. But yeah, they have the information about the boat there and showing the price and all of that. So, did you buy the Rough Seas? Steve, I've made an offer on the Rough Seas. We're working out details now. So I think Bobby's leaning that way of selling me the boat. We have to work out some of the terms. Unfortunately, because of the way I'm selling my property here, I'm getting paid incrementally and over a period of time while this woman works out some financing for herself. And so I expressed that to Bob, and he's going to work with me to work within those parameters. Hopefully, we'll get that confirmed here pretty soon. And if Bob can see his way clear to working with that, then yeah, I'll be buying the rough seas and should be on board sometime in September. So at least that's what we're hoping for. How long have you lived in Alaska? Keith, I've been up here for 6 years now, I think. 7 years. 7 years, I think I've been up in Alaska now. I own 80 acres, about 100 miles north of Anchorage and about 250 miles south of Fairbanks. Going to need a big rod and reel now. I have a big rod and reel, James. Not James, I do. Hanging right above me. I got a couple big trolling rods and trolling reels. I'm not going for the great big huge rods. It's just me, guys. It's just me on a sailboat with a small refrigerator and a tiny freezer. There's no point in me going out and trying to catch 200-pound tuna. It doesn't make any sense for me to do that. It doesn't make any sense for me to go out and catch anything over 50 pounds. I simply can't eat that much fish by myself. So to go out and to man up and rig up, the big 1,000 reels and put out a bunch of line and be out there trying to catch marlin and sailfish and stuff. I don't have any need for that. A good 30, 40 pound wahoo, a nice size Spanish mackerel, big, nice tuna, mahi-mahi. Those are going to be my preferred target species for fishing. Now, spear fishing, I'm going to be looking for hogfish. I'm going to be looking for lionfish. Be looking for some different species when I'm spear fishing and using the Hawaiian sling. So no, I'm not going to need too big of a rod and reel. The rods and reels I have, I've got a couple big Senator 114s, and that's plenty big for the size fish that I'm targeting. And you can control that target by the size of your baits that you're trolling, and the kind of baits and how you troll your baits to a certain degree. Sometimes you're going to bite off more than you can chew, but you learn how to deal with that. Johnny Hag says, I'm up here on a northern lake, Huron. Lake trout and salmon are the main target. Yeah, just like up here in Alaska. We have a lot of lake trout, rainbow trout, and of course all the species of salmon are up here. And I can catch any of them on my 6-weight fly gear. I can catch them certainly on any of my lightweight spinning gear. That's fine for those fish. But where I'm going to be, I'm not going to have those species anymore. So, okay, so Keith says, okay, now what, you may want to move from Ohio to Alaska. That's a hell of a move. What made me move? Okay. Keith, my daughter is a dog musher. She got started with dog mushing when we lived down in Montana. Fell in love with the sport, bought dogs, started building up a kennel, started training. When she was 14, we drove her up here to Alaska. She ran the junior Iditarod and did very well. The junior Iditarod is when the 14-year-old kids take 10-dog teams. They go 90 miles out into the Alaska outback. They stay overnight and then come back the next day. That's the race, the junior Iditarod. Most recently, I've been one of the volunteer coordinators for junior Iditarod and been involved with that quite a bit, actually. But we moved up here so she could have better trail access and better snow for training her dogs. That's why we moved up here, and that's why we bought this property. It wasn't my choice. It's not what I wanted to do for me. I was trying to be the good father and the good husband, and that's why I did that. For all the good that ended up doing me in the end. So, after doing all of that, I'm now divorced, and my daughter doesn't talk to me anymore because she's mad at me for divorcing her mom. So there you have it. So, oh well, life moves on. 20-pound tuna will feed one person a couple days. Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, really, a 20-pound tuna, you're looking at about 10 pounds of actual meat. You lose about half of it in the filleting process. And 10 pounds of tuna meat, I eat a pound a day maybe. So, yeah, that's a week, 10 days worth of food, one fish. So The Sex Pistols did a version. Yes, the Sex Pistols did. In fact, right now, the most popular version of Friggin' and the Riggin' is the one that the Sex Pistols did. However, they really kind of screwed it up and changed the lyrics on some stuff. But as is typical in history, you know, their version is now considered to be the standard. But anyhow, yeah, it's a fun song, and I am glad the Sex Pistols did it. It would have taken a group like them to have published and publicly did a song like that. There are a lot of groups that do, you know, the old wailing, sailing songs, which is where that came from. Surprisingly, you know, there's some pretty popular folk singers that did some of those kinds of songs. Arlo Guthrie comes to mind. He did some songs in that genre a little bit. But yeah, fun song, Erie. Absolutely. So I have a lot of groups like the Dubliners. Yes, a lot of groups like the Dubliners and a few others have done that song. So, guys, I got to get something to drink here. So you have to hold on. You have to bear with me a minute while I move everything because you're blocking the refrigerator. Oh. And as you know, this time of the day in the live streams, we get to beer 30. And it is definitely beer 30 now because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Not 5 o'clock up here in Alaska, but it is definitely 5 o'clock somewhere. So, cheers, mate. I don't know why I said cheers, mate. I'm not Australian. So, although I've been watching a lot of cruising channels that are Australian lately. Seems like ever since Sailing La Vagabond saw some success, every young guy in Australia is trying to buy a boat and get his girl to go out sailing with them, hoping they're going to have the same success that they've had. So, we'll see. Rhonda says it's 8:05 in Columbus, Ohio. Yep, 4:07 actually up here in Alaska, but my computer might be off by a minute or two. Steve Ertl says, do you own a boat now? No, Steve. I just sold I had a Cal 31, which I was keeping in Seward. I sold it this past fall because I knew it was not the right boat for me. I knew it wasn't going to be big enough to do what it is I wanted to do. And there was no point in me funding storing it over the winter and what have you. I had a guy had the right price at the right time this past fall, and so I sold it to him. So now I'm going like a whole year without a boat. I'm going through boat withdrawal, but that's okay. I've owned a couple of sailboats. The last one I kept the Shoal Marina in Seattle, Washington. When I lived in Montana, I used to keep a sailboat in Seattle. So we would drive over to Seattle and stay on the boat and go out to Shoal and sail the San Juan Islands and stuff in that area there, Seattle. And I've owned boats on the East Coast when I lived in New York on Long Island. And I've owned boats in Montana and in Ohio, but those were like, you know, bass fishing, duck hunting, pontoon type boats, that kind of stuff. So as far as cruising type boats, I've owned 2 Cal 30s, 130 and 1 Cal 31. So the 35, those would be the largest of the monohulls that I've bought for myself. Although I've sailed on much bigger boats. I've chartered quite a bit down in the British Virgin Islands. Most recently, I like chartering the Lagoon 44s, 42s, the large cats. So sailing experience. So, Steve, that's kind of my sailing experience. Learned to sail in high school on a small sunfish. I've sailed everything from Hobie Cats to Lagoon 440s. So kind of one extreme to the other as far as catamarans are concerned. I've spent the summer hanging out with some friends of mine on some smaller monohulls in my high school, college days, and I've owned a couple of monohulls myself and sailed around. So it's not like this is completely new to me. Mostly new to me. It's all every day is something new and you learn from it. It's not. I'm not trying to tell you that I know everything because I certainly don't. I don't know anything, really. I don't. But I am having fun with it. So one a day, multiple beers. Oops, vitamins. Actually, this is one a day last night, Sky. This is my daily beer. I'm really limiting myself. It doesn't, drinking beer and losing weight don't necessarily go hand in hand. So Grandpa's cabin is on daylight savings time. Am I, Grizz? 4:10 p.m. up here in Alaska. Is that daylight savings time? I guess it is. 105 in Ireland. Wow. What are you doing up this early? You should be sleeping. Von Proot says it's 2 o'clock there. Where are you, Von Proot? Von Proot? Am I saying that right? Von Proot? Das ist Deutsch, ne? Or is that like Swedish or something? I don't know. He meant you have a lot of daylight right now. Oh gosh, yeah, we do have a lot of daylight right now. We have all daylight right now. It does not get dark here this time of year. It'll get twilightish and then it'll start getting bright again. In Sweden, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. In Sweden, cool. Everybody in the chat room, click like on the live stream. Let's boost Grandpa's channel. Hey, thanks, Siri. I appreciate that. Yeah, guys, give me a big thumbs up if you would. All that helps, absolutely. 508 in Oregon. Okay, Grizz. Van Proot in Sweden, it was interesting. I recently did one of those DNA tests, where they test your genetics and stuff. And apparently my background is part Swedish. Mostly European, German, English, Irish. I'm a lot German, English, Irish, but also some Norwegian, some Swedish, Norway up there as well. So Rhonda says no one listens to her. Aw. No one's listening to Rhonda. Everyone listens to you, Rhonda. What are you talking about? Hit the bell, too. I wish the computer would ring every time someone hit the bell. That would be interesting. Hey, Yolanda, how are you? That is so weird, however. It never gets dark over there some days of the year. Yeah, and this time of year, it stays daylight all day long. But you guys would normally get like an hour or so before dark. That's as dark as it gets here at midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then it starts getting light again. So we really don't have nighttime up in Alaska this time of year. Now, with that said, 6 months from now, we have the opposite of that, where it'll get daylight here at around 10 o'clock and be light until 4 o'clock, 3:30, something like that. It'll start getting dark again. So in the wintertime here, we only have 5 hours or so of daylight. So it's a trade-off, I guess. And 9mm James says, my wife says the same thing. Your wife says the same thing, that no one listens to her? Kim says, I would like it. No, Kim, you don't like it to be light out all the time. It makes it very difficult to sleep when it's light out all the time. And when you're outside doing stuff, and so you don't realize it's dark. And so I've been outside doing stuff, and, I was like, man, I'm really tired. What time is it? And, my wife or daughter at the time would be like, well, it's, 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh, shit. So we better go inside and get some sleep. So Lydia. Hey, Lydia. Rhonda's daughter, Lydia, who's in band. She plays trumpet, I believe. Is that right? You're a trumpet player, Lydia? Anyhow, she's Rhonda's daughter. Rhonda, stop being needy. I like it. I like it. Give her a hard time, Lydia. Lydia's awesome. She's good people. She's absolutely good people. She's a fun kid. Very fun kid. Oh, man, it's hot in here. 79 degrees inside my cabin. 79. Wow. 86. I'm going to have to put on air conditioning. Should be a trick because I don't have air conditioning up here in Alaska, but I need air conditioning. When do you expect to close on the rough seas? I'm hoping sometime between, around the 1st of September to mid-September, somewhere in there, Johnny Hag. That is when I hope to close on it, and Lydia says I will. Cool. Yeah, that's when I hope to close on it, and but the terms that I'm having to work out with Bob, we're really not going to close on it. We're going to, sign an agreement into a contract and agree to make payments. I don't expect him to give me clear title until I'm able to pay it off. So, and that's fine with me. That's fine with me. So, but I'll take possession of the boat sometime around early mid-September, I think. Hi from Sharon and Dave from Sealy Lake. Wow, I know Sealy Lake. I know Sealy Lake really well. Sharon and Dave from Sealy Lake. Why does that sound so familiar? Do I know Sharon and Dave from scuba diving in Montana? Is that how I know Sharon and Dave? You get old, it's hard to remember all that stuff. Hardly going to snow in Alaska and then 2 weeks of rain. Last night, Sky, it would not surprise me at all. Absolutely would not surprise me. So we talked before. Yes, Sharon, I know we talked before. Did we talk before on my channel here? Because there's another couple that I knew that lived over by Sealy Lake that we got to be friends with when we were scuba diving. When I lived in Montana. I don't think that's you guys, though. But memory is the second thing to go. Yeah, and I don't remember the first thing. Air conditioning in Alaska. Hey, if I want some air conditioning, I go outside and get in my car and have some of that 460 air conditioning. You guys know 460 air conditioning, don't you? 460 air conditioning is when you roll the 4 windows down, you do 60 miles an hour and enjoy the breeze. Rhonda says I should open the door and let the rabbits in. Guys, I got to tell you some stories about rabbits. I have a bunch of snowshoe hares living around my cabin. I mean a bunch. Like within 100 yards of my cabin right now, I would not be at all surprised to find at least 100 of these rabbits in the neighborhood here. And my dog loves my best Hocking County hillbilly song. My dog loves going out and chasing those rabbits, but she's such a goofball. Sometimes she runs out of here so excited and jumping for joy and bouncing around like she normally does. Sometimes she doesn't even see them. She'll run outside and not even see the rabbits, even though some of them are 10 feet from her. She won't even notice them because she's such an idiot. But no scuba diving. I read your friend's book from Paradise. Oh, okay, right. Yeah. You read Christopher Paolini's book, Aragon. Yes. Yep. Know it well. That's right. That's where our conversation came from. Sorry about that, Sharon. Yep. Chris says, I was going to say something about how good my memory is, but I forgot. Yeah, that's what happens to us. That's what happens to us. Yep. Aragon books. Yep. I got that, Sharon. Yep. She's a blonde. Yes, she is a blonde. Lily is most definitely a blonde Labrador Retriever. Actually, she's a yellow Labrador Retriever, but people may call that blonde. Okay, Grandpa, got to go to bed. Bye, everyone. Night, night. Hey, Eddie, have a good night, my friend. Everything's airy up here in Alaska, so you have yourself a good night. Sleep well. We will talk to you next time, buddy. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. So, actually, kind of along those lines, unless somebody's got some specific questions for me, I think we pretty much blew an hour and then some here. If you've got some specific questions, feel free to ask, and we can discuss those. If not, I think we'll just give it a couple more minutes here and then call it a night. Getting hot and late up here. I want to turn the fan on. I do have a fan. Try to cool off a little bit. Hoping the windows get some cool 86-degree air inside, so I can get a good night's sleep myself. I don't remember ever having a memory. Oh, last night's guy, that's just too bad. That's too bad. That's one of the reasons why I like doing these videos, because I have something to trigger the memories. They're there, but for whatever reason they get repressed. So, have you ever been skinny dipping? Yes, Yolanda, although in my age right now, you really wouldn't call it skinny dipping. It would be more like, I don't know, beached whale swimming. But yes, Yolanda, I have in my misspent youth done quite a bit of that. In fact, I used to be skinny. Hey, when I went to college, when I left high school and went to college, I was the same height I am now, which is 6'3.5". I was 180 pounds. Kid you not. I was 180 pounds and was 6'3". I was stoked. I was in great shape. Um, but going to college and drinking beer, started drinking a lot of beer and put on weight and gone to hell ever since. So yes, I've done some skinny dipping. How about you, Yolanda? Do you like to skinny dip? Truth be told, it's my favorite way to swim. I like swimming on natural, but what does my hat say? My hat says Marathon Lady Reef-Fishing in the Florida Keys. I bought this 2 years ago when I was down in Marathon. So, Grandpa, you have lots of skin, so yes, it would be called skinny dipping. Huh. Well, maybe, Grizz. I'm not sure. Sure do. Yolanda likes to skinny dip too. All right, well, maybe we'll go skinny dipping together, Yolanda. That's always fine. Best live chats of yours. Thanks, Grandpa. Well, Johnny Hag, I'm glad you like that. Thank you for saying that. Any personal experience with memory foam toppers on boats? Thinking of adding to mine. Paulie D, no, I do not have any particular memory foam experience on a boat. My thinking is the memory foams tend to be kind of sweaty for being in the tropics, which is most of my boating experience. And I don't know if you could ventilate underneath of them very well to keep them from building up condensation, getting wet, and developing mold. So I would think a foam mattress is probably not a good idea, depending on your boat design and build and on boats in the tropics, you need to get lots of ventilation around your mattress to keep it from molding up on you. They have mats of certain designs that you can put underneath your mattress to allow airflow to get underneath there to keep it well ventilated. So I would think the memory foam, and it's the foam that bothers me, I would think the foam might become problematic, but I'm certainly no expert in that. So, and I do not have firsthand knowledge, just sort of my gut feeling on it. So, MJI 4237 says, I agree. Cool. Grandpa, you still up to skinny dipping with Yolanda? Haha, I'm really a guy, by the way, on my girls' account. Oh, Yolanda, that's mean. That's mean. But doesn't mean you can't go skinny dipping. I go skinny dipping all the time. It doesn't mean we're going to be doing anything else. We're not going to be holding hands till the wee hours of the morning, that's for sure. But, yeah, I don't mind going skinny dipping. I don't care who you are. That there's funny, and I don't care who you are. Yeah, I should change my name probably. Probably should, Yolanda. Or should I say Yolando? Marie says, enjoy your week. Hey, Marie, I friended you on Facebook. I don't know if you noticed that. Well, I think you did notice that. I friended you on Facebook. Nice picture, by the way. You're a lovely looking lady. I just felt like throwing that out there. So, also, I know you're Kim's cousin, but I don't remember, where do you live? Do you live in Missouri? Was it Missouri I saw there? I don't remember. But you commented on Bobby's thing that if I buy the rough seas, that I should take Marie sailing, and absolutely, take Kim sailing. Yes, Kim and Kelly are more than welcome to come out on my boat with me anytime. Absolutely. They seem like wonderful folks. They would have to be wonderful folks to have raised as good a daughter as Megan. So, because I think Megan's a class act. I really do. So there. That's what I said. It is what it is. I should change my name. All right, guys. Well, it's now 80 degrees in my cabin. I guess I need to kick the fan on here to cool off. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here because it'll be too noisy for you to hear me otherwise. And we'll probably be putting out another video during midweek this week. I'm not sure about what. Maybe I'll do some drone footage or something. But we will see how things go from here. Rhonda wants a Toad Sucker song. I did that last week. It's going to get old if I do it every week. Will you ever get your boat to the Oregon coast? Grizz, never say never. I don't anticipate doing that, but never say never. I will say this, up here in Alaska, some of the best cruising grounds you'll ever find in the summertime. Beautiful anchorages, lots of good fishing, but water too cold to swim in. So I'm probably not going to head back up the coast again, but you never can tell. So, California, Missouri. Well, that sounds like it's confused. You live in California or you live in Missouri? Jeez. California, the town, Missouri, the state. I got it. Okay. Thanks, Von Prut. Nice chatting with you, too. Ciao, MJI. Thanks for the fun and information live feed. We always enjoy visiting with you. Be a great week, Kelly and Kim. P.S. Ask Bob if spam comes with the Bob and his spam. Wow. I'm sorry, I can't do spam. It's just too salty for me. But they are great people, you know. They are great people. So, Sharon, take care. We'll see you later. Rhonda, Marie, Kelly, MJ, Von Prut, everybody. If I left somebody out, guys, if you would, please check out the Patreon page. Should you decide to join, I now have 2 Patreons. I'd love to get some more. We'll be starting to produce some good quality private content for the Patreons. In the meantime, we'll catch all you guys next week. You guys take care. Be great to one another. And we'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.